Hey, everybody, welcome back to Your Inside Track to Success. As always, I'm your host, Stewart Kraintz. We have another amazing guest for you this week. Before I go ahead and introduce her, please be sure to like and subscribe. Please hit that little bell icon so that you can continue to get updates. I have been saying this. We are going to be going to 2 episodes a week here at some point this year. We want to make sure you don't miss out on any of the amazing guests or messages that are coming your way. And so I want to jump right into today's conversation with our guest. Y'all, we've had a lot of coaches on to this point, but yes, she is a coach, but she does not do the type of coaching that we have had represented on this show. She is somebody that is here to really support us in understanding maybe why we are not as successful as we aspire to be in our lives. And y'all, this is going to be a really great conversation. Please be sure to listen in, take notes, go back and listen again, because we're going to go a lot deeper with ourselves than we have in previous episodes. So without further ado, I want to introduce Anita Ghosal on the show today. Thank you so much for being here, Anita.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, no, I'm excited too. I know we're going to cover some ground here. So I was introduced to you by a really good friend of mine, and basically you've been supporting him in maybe on the outside turning his world completely upside down, but doing a lot of deep healing, doing a lot of work around his past hurts, his past traumas. And I think the first thing I'd love to ask you in this area of expertise, why is this type of work necessary to create the lives of our dreams?
Yeah, I mean, it is necessary. Beautiful question. Why is it so necessary? And, just to put it really simply, it is about without realizing, without knowing, we're skipping steps. We're doing all the things. We're jumping into things. We're working really hard. We're very self-conscious, more than ever before,
Mhm.
right? It's like on steroids, yet it still isn't moving. It still isn't happening. I've just had someone voice note me. I won't say who it is, but someone that's looking for something to say,
Mhm.
what's missing here? It's kind of that missing piece. So, tried the classic business coaching or the therapy. She's been in psychotherapy. She's done the theta healing and all of the different things, the meditation and, the goal setting and all of those things. I've done all of those things too. So no shade on any of that. It's a great foundation. But you find just you keep going around in those same circles and nothing really huge is happening unless you work really hard for it, which is kind of not the point, because we went into this consciousness world to get out of the prison of being controlled or trapped inside of, a 9 to 5 or a business that is actually running you. We're wanting that freedom and that abundance, and that's not what it is. Even manifesting, even law of attraction, is a lot of freaking hard work. So,
Mhm.
for me, why it was necessary is because, I've been, gosh, I mean, for as long as I can remember, but at least 20 years embroiled in self-help, there, you name it, everything and everything, plant medicine, all the different things, trying to understand everything, experiencing them a lot for myself or through others, and just looking at it and like, hold on, this is not easy to admit. Like, it's just not, right?
Mhm.
Because egos, right? So, and we're doing all this work, we're like, we're so actualized, but we've actually got ourselves into another trap of pretending we're something we're not, because now we're saying we're fixed, we're doing our affirmations, we're moving forward, we're positive thinking, whatever it may be. We know our love language, but these are all tools, right? And behind the scenes, the anxiety, the dark feelings, the dark
Yeah.
thoughts, okay, or even the actions are happening. And now we're getting even more dissonance with ourselves, with others, because we're having to pretend, which is what we were trying to stop doing. We were trying to remove the mask and become more authentic. So to me, why it was necessary was because I just saw the glaring situation that it's not working.
Mhm.
You know, it's not actually working. Not really. Like, it's nice. It's useful. You feel like you're doing something. You're investing in yourself, but it's not really cutting the mustard. And I
Yeah.
invested in myself like big time, right? All the credit cards, everything. And it's like, it's not really working. And I was like, why is that? All these people have great intentions. These are good programs, good teachings, make sense. They're logical. Why isn't it working? Why isn't therapy even working for what it should be working for, or what it says on the tin? So it just means that there was a lot of gaps and a lot that's missing. And one of the biggest things that occurred to me, kind of as a message, if you like, I kind of read. I don't know how to explain that entirely. I'm sure you'll get it out of me in some way. But
Mhm.
was that we are not broken. We are not broken. We do not need fixing. And all of these things, at the core of them, is fixing our brokenness. That we do not need healing. That we are not broken. Every experience we're having, every emotion, anger, jealousy, judgment, hate, love, joy, all of them are necessary. If we know how to utilize them in something that I've curated into something called your sacred geometry soul design signature, which at the moment has 4 elements. So that's just a way we put it together. So you can really be the master of that and, let yourself off the hook. And the biggest part that was missing is we're skipping steps. There are what we call the root wound signature, one of the elements, which will be bespoke to you, depending what your signature is. And inside of that is, yes, things like trauma, yes, things that didn't go well. And what we've done with all of these other modalities is manage them, heal them, fix them. And so which is great, because then we don't, keel over and die and not survive. So it serves a purpose, but it flatlines us. And it's what I call management. So it has to continue. You have to keep doing it more and
Yeah.
more and more. You have to keep meditating. It's not just nice to have if you want to. So this loses the need for that. So we can actually ascend.
Yeah.
And each upgrade you have is done, right? There's always more to receive because everything is pre-curated and pre-provided for you. So this other reason why this is necessary, because everybody's running around like headless chickens, including myself, for many, many years going, what's my purpose? What's my
Yeah.
purpose? Why am I here? I've got to figure it out. Okay, what are my values? But we are streaming a lot of the time from what we call our root wound signature. There's 4 elements: root wound signature and what we call our force, FALSE, force. You're not self, not you, false trait signature, that lies, but very deeply embedded in us. So we're telling ourselves this is our values, this is what we think our purpose is, through doing a lot of exercises, using a lot of tools, working really hard on it, trying to figure it out. And it's not necessary, because we are not broken. We do not need fixing. We are the micro sacred geometry, as I call it, and there's a macro sacred geometry where everything is pre-curated, pre-provided, who you're here to be, what you're here to enjoy, what you're here to do. It's there. So it's about opening up to receive it, not find it as such. And that happens through, the transcendence of your root wound, or the activating and of your force trait signature. And then it just opens up and you're able to receive that. And you see this ascending starting to happen. Yeah. So we're skipping those steps to go straight into, and then we start a purpose and it's not really it, or it's not really producing, or we're not really feeling it is our calling, but we're too far in it and we're trying to make it work again. And that's just not it. So that's it in a overview nutshell. I mean, there's a lot of nuances to this, a lot of details to this, a lot of, layers to it.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. And I have so many questions I want to ask you now. And I think where I want to start, Anita, is I'm hearing you say that changing our life is not buying a self-help book. It's not attending a seminar. It's not listening to a podcast, no matter how awesome the podcast is. um, that there's always something underneath. There's always something we're not looking at. So,
Yeah.
am I hearing you say that the reason we are not creating what we want to with our lives and our time here on this earth because there's some type of past hurt that turned us away from who we actually are?
No, because you're not broken. So it's a
Oh,
good
got it.
question. Um, so everything is by design, okay, inside of that. And what we're doing is fixing it, right? So we're managing it. So any past hurts that may have turned you away from something you wanted to do or be, you may have overcome that, actually. You may have, done the work, right? Done the therapy, or whatever it may be, okay, different courses, and got somewhere. You've
Mhm.
probably achieved something in your life, probably a few things. Okay, so you've already done that and fixed that. So the issue isn't in the hurt and turning away from it. The issue is that, yeah, you may have actually turned towards it and healed it. But with that healing, you've what we call, the best way to describe it, I can describe it anyway, is you've offloaded the creation, the creation. I spell it because sometimes some can't understand my accent. Creation, not manifestation. Okay. Because there's a big difference in that as well. So you've bypassed, offloaded the creation activation in it because we've said it's a hurt and I'm broken. And I'm going to fix it, I'm going to manage it, and then I'm going to move forward.
Mhm.
So there's a way of actually activating it into the creation it was designed for, because all of it is the designed experience.
You're saying that the hurts, the wounds, they're meant to be there for a reason to teach us something?
Not really to teach us, they're not lessons. You don't need to learn a lesson because you're not broken. You've not done anything wrong, right?
Gotcha.
Uh, we're not learning lessons. They're just here to transcend and activate. They're kind of like raw creation material,
Mm.
and when we're making something, it doesn't usually start out as a beautiful thing, right? It can start out as a rock, and then the pressure and transcending that turn into a diamond or whatever it may be, different kind of alchemical processes. Okay, so it's kind of, they're like raw material to utilize. And we require to have a different relationship with them rather than thinking we're broken, kind of letting ourselves off the hook, unhooking from it, emotionally elevating, still feeling it, but utilizing it. We're trying to stop feeling it. We're trying to feel good all of the time.
Right.
So, and that's not the game. It's about feeling good about everything and utilizing it, which sounds impossible, but is easier than you think. As you start to transcend it, you actually get excited about some of the shit stuff that is happening. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can say words like that
Yeah,
on your
go
podcast.
ahead. Go for it.
Like this. Should have pre-warned you on that one. Yeah. So you get excited, if you have a fight with your partner, or something goes terribly wrong, you lose lots of money, you make what you feel is a terrible mistake. It's all happening for you, not to you. To utilize in a very special way, utilizing your sacred geometry signature that is bespoke to you, like a fingerprint. So when you're able to read that, I mean, I read it for my clients, from them to me to them, and then I help them to start to see it themselves. Because obviously there's a lot of clogging going on and a lot of managing going on in the meditating or the, running those goals. And that's operating from that full straight signature. So there's only so much that can move when you're operating from there. And there's nothing wrong with those things. This is kind of the more. So you can still be with those things. They can still be incorporated, but in a way that is in sync with your sacred geometry signature. So they're not slowing you down without you realizing it, rather than speeding you up. And you're like, what is going on here? I'm doing all the things. I'm doing all the work. I'm doing all the investing. I'm being really conscious. I'm being really freaking positive. And really, that's the problem. It's not meant to be a lot of work, because we are provided for So we have to open up to that receiving of that.
So I'm just gonna be honest, Anita. Like, I don't think I've had an interview on this show where I've just been speechless and don't actually even know what to say or ask. But I know that there's a lot of value here. So I'm just gonna throw caution to the wind and just know that I don't know anything about what we're talking about, but I'm here to learn, and I hope that the listeners are too. So you've said over and over again, we are not broken.
Yes.
And you're also saying that the things that are happening in our lives are happening for us. And I'm also hearing you say that the things that are in our lives should be easy, or at least not something we're like grinding ourselves down into a fine powder to attain. So, how does somebody begin doing the work of understanding who they actually are and not the false self?
Ooh, so that's another trip up. That's another trippy question.
Okay.
It's asking, if I'm hearing you, how do we start doing the work
Oh,
to
okay.
find out who we are, right? So again, we think we have to find out who we are. We don't think everything we're experiencing is all for us and we're going to receive who we're here to be. But a beautiful question. Because number one, you don't have to do the work. Okay. It's not work. It's not studying and figuring yourself out. And, it's not that at all. It's about understanding your sacred geometry signature. That's going to give you a quick insight into the truth. Okay. And then we had the root wind signature. We had the full straight signature. As you're activating these, not working on them, like I've got to work on this and, and be done with it, because each layer you activate inside of that, which is happening through the experiences you're having, either previous or in your life or you're scared of in the future. It's just utilizing that. That's your program. Okay. Even though there's lots of layers that you can utilize, but you don't need that. It's all being provided. Your canvas, your coursework is your actual experience. So it's utilizing that. And what happens is you naturally receive what we call your feminine trait signature with your man, woman, whatever sex you identify with, feminine by the means of who you're here to be, who you're here to be. That's who you are, who you're here to be. And that starts to get received. Okay, so when we open this up, you get to have an insight into that. And as you activate more of the root wound, more of the full straight, you receive more and more of who you're here to be. Very naturally, very organically, and you just start activating it. And when you start entering this, and it's immediate. It's not work. It's not like, right, I got to sit down. I got to transcend my root wound for 6 months, and the root wound's done. And then I've got to go with my full straight signature. And 6 months, that's done. Right now, I'm going to find out who I am. It's immediate because they all work simultaneously. And we're not trying to get rid of any of them. We don't want to get rid of any of them. We want to utilize them as they show up in a different way. And then you receive who you're here to be, layer by layer. And as soon as you receive that, this macro sacred geometry world will bring in more of who you're here to be, more of what you're here to enjoy, more of what you're here to have. What's pre-provided, pre-curated. But the trust, right? The trust in that, to let go of control, and I've got to make it happen, right? Which is the full straight signature running. So not easy, but when you understand your sacred geometry signature, you're like, oh, yes, please. It's like freedom. Like we're meant to feel, the thing we're striving for, which is already here. So that happens automatically. And then we've also included, which some of your listeners may know about, so this is probably the only element that people know about inside of the sacred geometry signature, which is your human design signature.
Yes.
So some people know about this one. This one's got a bit wild. Put it into the sacred geometry because it's how you're here to operate. Now we're doing it upside down. So we're trying to go, how am I here to operate? Let me study my human design signature or something similar, right? There's lots of ways to try to figure out who you are. And then you try to live that person. You try to practice it. Be it. Force it. Be positive. Say these things that you don't feel. Say these affirmations. Act that way. That's not it. right? That may have some result. You may see some things move because you are practicing it and it moves energy a little bit, but it can't sustain. So it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Through your root wound, your force trait, into your feminine trait signature, who you're here to be, how you're here to operate, that happens, those two happen automatically. You don't have to study it and figure it out and work on it. It just opens up, layer by layer, layer by layer. And then you receive more and more and more in a different way than we're used to, which feels uncomfortable at first. But when you see how it's working, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I'm biased, but you never want to go back. I'm not going back there. I'm not going back to fixing myself, all of that. So, yeah, you don't need to find out who you are, what your purpose is. It's already here. You just need to activate certain layers inside of your root wound and your force trait. You can just start to receive who you're here to be and how you're here to operate. It does nothing to study it or try to figure it out. It slows it down because it's coming from logic. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Anita. My mind is blown. So I'm going to ask you to see if I got it because I want to make sure the listeners are getting it too. So like I'm sure everybody that's going to listen to this, I can tell you what my human design is. I can tell you what, my Enneagram is. I can tell you what my love languages are. I can tell you all the things. And I'm hearing you say it's not about fixing us. It's not about working on ourselves. It's not about any heavy boulder we need to push up a mountain. It's about allowing ourselves to be who we are. Is
Yes.
that it? Did I get it?
Allow yourself to be a hot mess and utilize it all. And allow everyone else around you to be a hot mess because you're being used as sacred geometry vessels, if you like, from your not self, not you, and so are they. They have no choice, especially in your relationships, love relationships, intimate relationships. And it's like, what the hell is going on here? This is not what love is. It actually is what love is. If you transcend it and utilize it for what it's here for and understand where it's filtering for and how to utilize it through you, because we're all one, we're not separate. So we can't, well, we can. I mean, there's a lot of labels out there at the moment. Narcissist, all these gaslighting, all these kinds of things. Now, we can, if we're already honest with ourselves, we've all had a level of that in ourselves, right?
Correct.
Come out.
Sure.
Gaslighting, not hearing what someone else is saying something else, shouting in their face, whatever it may be, okay? Or being a narcissistic, just thinking about yourself, whatever. And I understand there's different levels of that. It depends on how much root wound and false trait there is. So the labels are useful, but they can be full of lies that this is the case, that there's good and bad. You're a bad person, I'm a good person, whatever it may be. Or I'm a bad person because I did something bad.
Right.
That's coming from your false trait signature, your root wound, to utilize it. So let yourself off the hook. You can be with pleasure and joy with that in a brand new way, with your sacred geometry to transcend it. It's required. That was part of the contract, if you like, of us coming through in this way. We're here to experience the transcendence. We can't experience really the good without the bad, but we keep trying to get rid of the bad. It's just like, and this is what, you see celebrities or whatever it may be, and they're much, right? They got all this good, and they kind of F it up. And it's like, what are they doing? I've just seen P. Diddy recently, and he's on all these court cases and
oh Lord,
whatever it may be, all these charges. It's like, it's crazy, isn't it? And that's why, because it's about transcending that root wound and that false trait and utilizing those situations. So nothing is bad, but that doesn't mean, oh my God, so my life's going to be a hot mess and my relationship's going to be crazy forever. And my purpose and my business and my mission is going to be crazy forever. No. It transcends. And then there will be moments of unraveling because it's time for an upgrade or a transition or an activation into something more, so you can receive more. There's always more. But the way you start to relate to that is like a bit of a pro. And that's what changes. At the beginning, you're like, why is my life falling apart? What's going on? Why is this person in my life? Where's my money gone? Why did they take it? Whatever it may be. And now, you know, in every pain, in every loss, is so much creation, so much for you. And you get to know how to utilize it, how to be with it, how to activate it.
Yeah.
Very perspective to you. So that's the other thing. Everything out there is generic, right? It's one for all. This is going to work for everybody. But we're all designed very bespoke. So we can find ourselves building what I call building. Building is when we're building something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we look around and, you know, obviously this is our favorite thing in society. You know, when people are building or when we're building, we're like, yes, we love this. We love being in building. We hate being in chilling out or transition or falling apart and that unraveling.
Right.
We're like, nope, like that. These are all necessary phases inside of ascension and growth to receive.
Is it because people want to feel like they're in control?
Well, it's not people that feel like they want to be in control. We just want to be free, right? We just want to chill, have a good time, enjoy
Right.
our lives.
That sounds great.
We don't want a purpose. We don't want to, we just want to have a nice time. We want to enjoy life. We want to be free, okay? And do something that is meaningful and connect with each other. That's it, right? It's not rocket science. So it's not that people are that way, but inside of the not self and that false trait signature, there is a controller. And inside of here, we call it the saboteur. And people may have heard of that. The saboteur is all about control, all about logic, all about trying to control things. And that's what the false trait signature is. That second element is about protecting. What is it trying to do? Why is it there? It's trying to keep that root wound signature in exile. It's trying to keep it in hiding because that's where the activation comes from. So it is going to die. So it doesn't want to die to its current form. It will still transcend, stay with you in an upgraded form because we need those to activate each time. That's why there's no repeated pattern. You're like, oh my God, this is happening again. You know, it's like, oh no, I see. Okay, it's not happening again. I don't need to get over this. I don't need to stop grieving this thing because it's a constant thing. It may come up again for a different reason to be utilized in your sacred geometry. So that's okay. So yeah, that's why the control is there. But we, in ourselves as people, in who we're here to be, the truth of us, we're not controlling at all. We're not trying to control. It is controlling us until we put ourselves in the lead of it. Because it's not meant to be controlling us, right? It's there for us to utilize it. And you're like, it doesn't know what it's doing. It's like a 2-year-old on a grid and I'm like going all over the place. And it doesn't know what to do without your instruction and without you utilizing it in a specific way. It has purpose, so we don't want to get rid of it. That want, that need, or that feeling, or I want to control this. I want it to go my way. Whatever it may be, that's on the false trait signature. You're not self. So we can be with it in a brand new way because it's separated from us. We're kind of, you know, you can, like the ultimate observer, the ultimate like, whoa, what's going on here? And you can start to see how it all interconnects and utilizing it and starting to receive what you desire, or even better. Then you can, because even having goals will limit you because goals come from the false trait signature. Why do we need a goal when everything's pre-created? I'm gonna swear, then they're fucking stressful. Right? As soon as we get a goal, it's like, oh my God, I gotta achieve it. And then sometimes we won't even set it or we won't even want it. We won't even dare let ourselves want it. But it's like, oh my God, I'm already exhausted. How am I gonna add this on? How am I gonna do this thing? And then I've got to achieve it. If I don't achieve it, I'm gonna fail. And forget it. Just stay where I am, which is what the false trait signature is rooting for us to stay where we are. So the root wound stays in exile. If it's unattended to, if it's not seen. Otherwise, the root wound and the false trait, they're our friends. They're not like enemies that we're trying to get rid of or heal or fix. So yeah, you get to receive in beautifully different ways. You don't need goals. because it's already pre-provided. You just need to activate what you desire, what you want. And you don't even have to get what you desire or what you want correct, because you probably won't, because it's coming from the full straight signature. Because your macro sacred geometry can translate it for you and activate that or something even better. But first, it's going to give you what you require. And none of us like what we require, right? We're like, I don't like this shit. It's like, it's okay. It's for you. This is what you require. You require it to fall apart right now, not just fall apart, but to use it and utilize it. Then falling apart or transitioning or being in doing the nothing or resting becomes fun, because you understand that they're important, not just building, go, woo, 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 you know, fire it up, let's go, run to the gym every morning, you know.
Yeah.
It's exhausting, even exhausting to watch. If you watch some of these, and no shade on anyone, you know, everything's amazing, but when you watch some of these high vibe, you know, the Tony Robbins of the world, whatever it may be, and I love Tony, massive respect, but it is like, wow, really? Whew, Jesus. I don't know if I can keep that up, right? And because we don't want to, because we don't have to. There is another way. Now, there's many paths to success. This isn't the only way, but if you want a way that is, you're free from all of that, then this is a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
It's
So I have to go back in on the concept of goals, because people that listen to this show all have goals. I have goals. You know, I think that I have, actually, I don't think, I know I've had goals that definitely were not aligned to who I actually am as a person. And I would love to go in on that here momentarily, specifically. But I guess just help me understand the goals being attached to the not self. And I guess the question is, because I used to be someone who was just so checked out, like letting life kind of just run him over, that I didn't really have a lot of goals. I didn't really put myself out there. I didn't try very hard. And now that I do, I'm the healthiest I've been since high school. I am married to the love of my life. We have an amazing kid. Is everything in life the way I would like for it to be? No, but we get fed, or at least we've been taught to believe in our society, that the harder we work, anything's possible.
right. So yeah, beautiful question, because goals work. It's not
Yeah.
that they don't work. If you work them, they work, like you have, right? You've got healthy, you've got your wife, your baby, and all of these things. But it's working hard for them. The reason why they're of the not self, not because I mean, you can call them goals, desires, wants, not because we shouldn't have them, okay? Because in the not self, we're very much controlling it. We're making it happen. So what happens there, even though you received a lot, so I'd be like, why wouldn't I want to go? Like, I don't want to lose my wife. I've got my wife. I've got my health. I don't want to lose my health. Like, I'm just going to be, before I was just doing nothing, being lazy, just useless, getting nowhere. And I've got a baby. I've got a life. I've got a podcast. Like, why would we not want this thing? The nuance is in, you're not going to lose that. Okay, so inside of the not self and the full straight signature, it thinks, well, if we don't have goals, then I'm going to lose all of this, everything I'm created. It's about receiving more and in a new way. In a new way.
Got it.
Yeah. It doesn't have the heaviness and the heavy duty lifting that you've probably had to do to get where you are today. So your next upgrade can be far more easier. Okay. And even if somebody is listening and they're at the phase that you were at before pushing yourself through all those goals and getting to where you are, you can do it from there too. It's not that you have to get to this point where you've got to, utilizing goals and having that happen and being very proactive and going for a program and all those things. So there's nothing wrong with those things. You know, sacred geometry and your soul design signature isn't in conflict with that. It's just that there's a new way. There's more. You're going to get to be with it very, very differently.
Yeah. Okay. I think I get it. I think it's opening up to what's possible by not being so committed to a narrow and straight path forward. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. And it's that experience you said of hard work that we're so woo that we're so used to hard work. We cannot get it. We cannot get it that in joy, pleasure, and ease that we're going to receive. It feels
Yeah.
very unsafe, very dangerous if we don't transcend the root wound and the full straight. Doesn't mean you can't still achieve things with goals. Of course you can. Okay. But you're doing it and you feel unsafe. It's like, so I've got to keep this going. I'm in control. And we're actually not in control. We're a very small part of it. We're the micro sacred geometry. And actually, when we release that, and we start to receive with ease and joy and pleasure without the hard work in the same way. Yeah, it's a brand new world. So it's a different way of receiving that there doesn't have to be punishment to receive. I don't have to go to the gym, work really hard, do this, and then I can have pleasure. It's pleasure is just within everything. And it should be because that's what
Yeah.
activates creation.
For the audience, I feel like I'm hearing you say that it's kind of like that saying, like enjoying the journey as much as you do the end
Yes.
result.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. But we can say that, and that's like, yeah, whatever. We've all heard these sayings, right? We're like, yeah, okay, whatever. That sounds great. Enjoying the journey as much as you do the result. Get lost. Don't put that in my face again, right? Because in reality, it doesn't feel like that. Okay, so we can tell ourselves that. We have to manage that. We have to affirm, I'm going to enjoy the journey as much as the end result, but we're not at all. Okay, so this is where it really actually happens, right? Where it actually happens. Okay, you actually activate it. It actually comes online as a way of being, not something you have to try to adhere to and do. That's the difference. You actually upgrade, you actually become into who you're here to become.
Love it.
Yeah. So you release the outcomes and then you receive way more in way many different ways than you could. So it just limits, like you said, it's narrow otherwise, and it limits, and you can feel that limitation even when you've got all the things and you've achieved all the things. And that can feel quite bad because it's like, well, I'm not saying this for you, but I've got the wife, I've got the baby, I'm doing all the things, but I'm not fully enjoying them. I'm not fully experiencing it. I'm not fully loving it. I'm feeling like something is missing. Like, what? How have I got here? What's wrong with me? And then we get that guilt. And there's nothing wrong with that because it's letting you know that the root wound and the full straight is there to activate now. So you
Mhm.
can experience what you've created. Doesn't mean, oh my God, you got all the wrong things in your life, right? Get rid of that wife. It's not that.
Mm-mm.
It will transcend into where you can actually experience more joy in what you've already built and not be afraid of receiving more and building more and letting more come in naturally and organically in different ways with your sacred geometry.
So I'd love to share with you a little bit about my lived experience because I think this is a perfect tie-in, and I'm hoping the example is sort of for the listeners as well. So in a former life, I was a sales and marketing guy in professional baseball. I was in like the classic hyper masculine environment, suit and tie every single day, making 100 plus cold calls a day. You know, it was very much go, 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 do, sleep when you're dead, you know, that type of work environment. And that period of my life, I was never actually, even to this day, I think you could argue never more successful on paper than I was for that 6 year stretch of my life working in baseball. I could also not have been more miserable than I was because it was just so not who I was. And it's a culture of work till you're dead. You know, it's 100 hours a week every single week. My very last paycheck from the New York Yankees, I actually still have it specifically for this purpose because I don't ever want to kill myself like that again. But my last paycheck has 196 hours on it for 2 weeks. And that's not sustainable, it's not healthy, but it's also who I thought I had to be in that period of time in my life in order to be successful. And Anita, I know I'm on the, I don't know what it is in metric, but I am 6 feet 2 inches tall. I'm about 220 pounds. So I'm a big guy, big, strongly built. I was down to 157 pounds from the stress, which is a
Mm.
massive difference. Like I was all skin and bones. I had horrible halitosis all the time because the cortisol was like coming up out of my stomach and out through my mouth. I was disgusting to be around because of that. I always looked like I hadn't slept in weeks because I hadn't. And I was, developing, if I'm going to be honest, starting to develop a dependency on alcohol and also caffeine just to make it through the day each and every day. And
Mm.
that ended in me being in the hospital for a week from stress related, almost organ failure, actually, is what they described it as. And that was the genesis, I believe, of becoming who I am today. I went so off the rails pursuing a very narrow and limited view of success, a very narrow and limited view of what success looked like and who I had to be as a man in order to have any value on this earth. And it nearly
Right.
killed me. And,
Hmm.
I hated almost all of it and it felt awful and heavy all the time. But I was working for the New York Yankees, so I better suck it up because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And now I definitely am not in that world. I love podcasting. I love meeting people like yourself. I love learning from experts in their fields. I love putting this on. I'm not getting paid for this in any way, but I am putting this out to the world so that hopefully it makes it a better place. And that fills me up. And I haven't worked with you. I haven't done this type of like heavy or deep root wound work in the same way
Right.
that my friends have with you. But I feel like what I'm describing is the difference in my personal experience between who I was and what you're describing. And please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I won't correct you, but I'll give you some insights into
Yeah,
what you're
yeah.
saying. Okay, because I mean, this is what kind of happens, right? So you're in this position, very successful in sales and marketing, doing those 100 calls a day, New York Yankees, like what a name to have in your CV. You must have a great life. And you're working really hard. And then the illness hits, or alcohol and caffeine. And so we make a little bit of a misunderstanding inside of this, and a
Okay.
little bit of an undoing is available for those that want that. So one of the things you said to me that struck me at the beginning was that I was really successful. I had a six-figure salary plus.
Not quite that high, but had I hit all my bonuses, absolutely.
Right. And you said you don't have that now. Is that what
No,
you said?
correct.
Okay. So this is where the undoing is. So it is in your signature to receive, and this is not just about money, but just to zone in on an example,
Hmm.
that level of wealth. That is
Hmm.
easy for you. Okay, through what we call your soul design IP mission, actually, inside of Liberate Me. We don't call it your purpose or go find your purpose because it's so misused. So we just try to use different words and different ways to say this is not the same thing. This is your soul design IP mission. What you're pre-qualified for actually comes out as you transcend the root wound, and it starts to show itself. Um, it's 9 times out of 10 never the thing that you're doing, right? Or think you should be doing.
Right.
Okay. That's important to know. So that will come through. And it's important to know if you've got like a wealth signature inside of your sacred geometry signature. And at the very base, okay, if we want to make this logical, because actually, even though sacred geometry, it sounds a bit woo-woo, sounds a bit out there. It's like, what the hell is this stuff? And I get it. I was a total cynic, also from the corporate world, similar to yourself, you know, working hard, climb that ladder and go, why am I at the top of this ladder? I don't even know why I'm here. I'm not even enjoying this. And getting ill, all the things. But actually, it's quite logical. Sacred geometry is quite methodical when you start to use it. So it's not that far apart for some of these things we're used to, because some people feel like it's very esoteric and like, how does it actually work? So that is important, that you have a wealth signature. So if you're stepping into something and you're not really creating that kind of wealth, this isn't about pressure. Within, I don't know, a year, 2 years, maybe even less, to be honest. So I did it in the same year, through this work and coming into this. Then we're not in our purpose, we're not in our mission, or we're not being who we're here to be within it. Okay. Wow. Because you get to receive that and actually more, right? But there is a relationship that's going on in your 4 straight signature that's like, I don't want it. I don't want that money. I don't want that wealth, actually, because it came with nearly killing me, for God's sake. It nearly killed me. Yeah. I don't want it. So it's actually keeping that away. That's what's happening in the 4 straight signature. It keeps it away. I don't want that more. And it's going to give me anxiety and stress, and I'm going to lose all this weight and feel terrible and not sleep. But I don't want that. These are all lies. These are lies, but this is what the 4 straight signature, maybe without your awareness in the background, is saying and controlling. So it doesn't let you receive what is yours to receive inside of that. The reason that all happened to you, remembering it's in design, right? That you haven't done anything wrong, you've not messed it up. You know, alcohol isn't the problem. Caffeine isn't the problem. We make some of these things a problem, and we start to manage those things or stop them completely. And you can if you want to, if it is your truth in your sacred geometry not to have that thing. But generally, that's not the problem. That's just the sacred geometry vessel is trying to get your attention to your root wound, especially when they take you down like that. That's what we call the victim 4 straight powerless house. And it will take you down in illness, literally try to kill you, because who you're here to be, what it transcends into, is a feminine trait, creation, powerhouse, and what we call your warrior inside of Liberate Me. You're here to receive a lot, and a lot more than you receive there. So what we tend to do, because the 4 straight has to protect you from that, it also protects you from receiving the same amount of wealth, just on a base level. Okay, because it's saying it's going to come with all those things. There's no other way to have it. So better you stay here, where you feel good, you're helping people, but you're receiving nothing. But you're meant to receive. So you receive more, you're here to be and give more. Okay, so really interesting little points, you know, coming up inside of your experience there. And there's activation for you there to receive more. And understanding these things are in the background. They're not understanding that you can receive this without all of that. If you see why those things were occurring from your root wound, to activate those, it will come in. And more of who you're here to be, your soul design IP mission, aka purpose, all of that. Everything we're here to do will receive abundance with it. It will, it's automatic, because we're provided for. So if the wealth is not there, and you've been doing something for a long time and the wealth is not there, not that it's about the money, but it's an important indicator to see that, hold on, this isn't quite it. Or I'm not activating it through who I'm here to be. So it may change form. We could also throw the baby out with the bathwater. So we want to cut it all, the 4 stroke wants to cut it all off. Everything that you gained from that experience, because there would have been things you gained from that experience that are part of your soul design IP mission, but in a new form. But it cuts it all off. It closes it down. It flatlines you and says never again, something completely different. And actually it can be, it will feel completely different, but it can be a different form or a different incarnation, but it doesn't come along with all that crap. You get to keep the good stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that lands for you or if you can receive any of that. But that's why
It
it's nice to give a really good example, because you can start to see, some of the nuances inside of it.
yeah, it lands. It lands, and I actually do receive what you're saying. And I think for the listeners, what I heard you say, Anita, is that to some degree, if the result is not there, that's something to look at, especially
Yes,
if you've
the
been at it
results
for a
are meant to
while.
be happening. Yes, the results are meant to be happening all of the time. All of the time. Because they're pre-created. So each time you activate a layer of your root wind, your false trait, they're partners. So you'll always activate a layer of them together. You come into more of who you're here to be. That turns you on like a beacon. You receive.
Mhm.
You receive. You
Yeah,
receive. So yes. So it's if that's not happening, um, yeah, there's more to receive. And it's not just about money. Okay, it's not just about
correct.
money, because some people will be like, I'm activating my sacred geometry, but I'm not receiving the money. It depends what phase you're in. If you're in the unraveling, you're going to receive more of who you're here to be, more of what you're here to enjoy, more of what you're here to do, so you can revive, because it's like a revive, but to bring you back to life, because it's kind of been a bit dead in the false trait. And then the receiving comes from some of those things that we're attached to as humans, like money, 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 money. But yeah, so, but you're always receiving, and you're receiving that richness and that wealth in many different ways, not just money. But money is one of the things that will activate, or you have a new relationship with in a beautiful way. That you're not holding on so tight, you're spending freely, money's coming in. It's a whole new relationship with it. So, yeah, many nuances depending on your signature. But in a simple answer to your question, yes, outcomes happen, right? They happen, things move, things shift all of the time.
Wow. Anita, my mind is absolutely blown just on everything we've covered in this conversation. In the interest of time, and I really think we're going to need to have you on again soon if you're open to it. I'd love to have you back on. But is there anything about the work you do and how you support people that we haven't covered today that you feel like the listeners need to hear?
Good question. Anything I do? I think we've covered it. I think the only thing I would say, this stuff seems a little out there, and I totally get that. And it truly is not something that can be understood through me explaining it or whatever it may
Sure.
be. There's a website, you can check that out, but it still doesn't hit, because it's so personal to you. Something's hitting. So it hits in the body and the feeling like there's something here. So it's better to experience it. Experience your own sacred geometry signature.
Yeah.
Experience that. That's something we do. So something at the moment I'm doing complimentary to give you your sacred geometry signature, a reading, so you can have a personal experience of it. And that's, you receive that on audio, so you can listen to it by yourself and dive into what it is. So that's the only thing I probably didn't mention. It doesn't mean that all the pre-existing things you've done are useless either. This
Mhm.
is the more. So there can be this idea that but I've been meditating, so I can't meditate anymore, and I'm doing theta healing, and that was useless. It's like, well, you can. Look, you're probably not going to need to, because you become meditative in the way that you are. So you're probably not going to need that stuff. But if you want it, Reiki, crystal healing, whatever it may be, you can have it as part of your pleasure and joy, as opposed to needing it to manage your anxiety, because there is no anxiety. I mean, anxiety is a label. It's a good
Mhm.
label, because it lets us know that there's things in the root when the full is straight, ready to activate and receive something, receive an outcome, right? Receive a shift, whatever it is. Okay, not just manage it. Yeah.
Anita, how do people connect with you for the the complimentary reading and also just to get to know you.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a website, Liberate Me TM, as in trademark, liberatemetm.com. There is Instagram, Liberate Me TM. Inside of that, you'll see that when you click the contact me button, it goes straight to my WhatsApp. I work in a highly bespoke, personal way. So you'll get straight through to me and we'll take it from there. Because I work in a high level way, very bespoke, very private with each person that wants to activate something like this in this way. It really is the end to self-help. So if you're up for that, then yeah, check it out.
And I'm willing to believe a lot of folks listening to this are. So we're going to make sure that your contact info is made readily available in the show notes and the descriptions, anywhere anybody is catching this episode. Oh, Anita, this has been mind blowing. I know I'm going to need to probably schedule a call with you myself just to go in on this a
Amazing.
little bit deeper. But
Absolutely.
something that I ask every single guest as we round out the show, what are you acknowledging yourself for today?
Oh, that's nice. Oh, what am I acknowledging myself for? Well, to finding the new secret inside of this industry as a whole and seeing those gaps, and just for showing up and being here. Yeah. And I'm going to go and have a lot of fun now and a lot of joy and a lot of pleasure on my staycation. So I want to acknowledge myself for that as well,
I
because
love
that's what
that.
it's about.
Oh,
That's what it's
absolutely.
about.
Thank
Yeah.
you for pouring into me and also the listeners during your staycation. You know, that's not lost on me. So I appreciate, the giving nature of your soul. So I appreciate you. And folks, this has been another episode of your Inside Track to Success. I know that you got value out of today's episode. Please, please, please share this out with somebody. Please let them know where you got this conversation so that folks like Anita can continue to do amazing work in the world and spread the impact, spread the love, spread the joy that is possible by doing some of this work for yourselves. And folks, we will be back on next week with another amazing message or guest. We'll see you then.